Traditions take time to develop. One of the first traditions to develop with reference to the Bible had to do with the common Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament known as the Septuagint, often abbreviated LXX. Many Christians believe the Septuagint to be an inspired translation. The story was that 70 or 72 Jewish scholars were given the task of translating the Bible's first 5 books, the writings of Moses, called the Pentateuch. Earlier versions of the tale indicated close cooperation on the part of the translators, resulting in a particularly pure product. Later stories, however, spoke of the scholars retiring to their workplaces alone, completing their work, and upon comparing the end result, discovering that they had produced identical translations word for word, a sure sign of divine providence and inspiration. While such anecdotes are sometimes amusing, today they once carried great weight, especially as the only translation of the scriptures the early Christians had ever known was in fact the Septuagint. Indeed, it is hard to resist drawing the parallel between how the Septuagint was viewed then and how some KJV-only individuals view the KJV today. Both see some kind of miraculous event taking place in the translation of both documents, despite many plain facts that contradict such a conclusion. Furthermore, the real source of such dedication to a particular translation is rather easy to identify. An incident in the lives of Augustine and Jerome will be helpful in identifying the source of this devotion. In the early 5th century, Jerome provided a fresh translation of the Old Testament in Latin. What made his work unique was that it was based not upon the Greek Septuagint version, but upon the actual Hebrew of the original Old Testament. Jerome was one of the very few early Christians able to read both Greek and Hebrew. As he translated from the Hebrew, his version varied both in content, the Septuagint having some additions and some deletions when compared with the Hebrew text, and in style. Jerome did not feel he had to accept every interpretive translation that was to be found in the Septuagint. When his translation reached North Africa, it caused a stir in the churches overseen by Augustine, the great bishop of Hippo. One aspect of his work that caused consternation among the people was that he did not use the traditional translation in the book of Jonah regarding the gourd. The Hebrew is difficult here, and Jerome decided not to follow the Septuagint's identification of the plant as the gourd, but instead followed the Jewish understanding and identified it as the castor oil plant. In any case, there was a near riot when the passage was read in Carthage. Augustine objected to it and explained why in a letter to Jerome written in AD 405.